Hello, hello everyone! Magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat. This is Mentor Ana once again and we are live. So it's March 5, it's past 8 o'clock in the evening. Kamusta po ang inyong Thursday? How is your Thursday doing so far? Isang araw na lang and it's going to be another weekend coming from for all of us. And how are you? How are you? How is your day? If this is your first time to see me go live, ako po si Ana Montesa. I'm a former accounting and finance professional, dating isang hospital CFO, nagtrabaho sa corporate world for 15 years, turned digital business mentor and owner for 5 years. So 2 years after starting this business, I was able to retire from my corporate job. That's why I'm very passionate about helping mga kapwa kong accountants and other professionals who also wants to create their life beyond their 9 to 5. So if this is your first time to see me go live, we are streaming live on Facebook, on my LinkedIn account, and my YouTube channel. So please feel free to drop in wherever you are watching from. I'd love to know where you are based, kung saan ka man, kung dito ka ba sa Philippines or outside the Philippines, all right? So if this is your first time to see me go live, every Thursday we are talking about related to our faith. So for tonight, our topic is peace is also a form of guidance. And I wanted to share a very simple thought with you today, because maybe most of you, right, you're also like me, that sometimes we keep asking God for the big signs, right? And ito yung mga times when He is already guiding us in quieter ways. And, most of us are really making a lot of major and minor decisions in our life right now. It can be related sa ating work, it can be related to our finances, or it can also be related to about starting something new. Pwede rin na it's whether to stay where we are or we are trying to try something different this time, right? And sometimes when we are asking for the sign or the answer that we are asking from God, sometimes it really can feel so confusing. Minsan may makikita kang sign na oo, pwedeng oo yung sagot ni Lord, sometimes it's not, and nalilito ka. So instead of coming up with a final decision, you are still 50-50, gusto mo na ayaw mo, right? And I'm sure a lot of us have also experienced that, no? I myself included, na may mga decision din ako sa buhay na hindi ako 100% sure, right? Because nalilito rin ako kung ano ba talaga yung dapat kong next step with anything that I needed to, pursue, right? So just like in my case, when I first started exploring building something outside my career, I've mentioned this, that I've worked in the corporate world for 15 years. I didn't have everything figured out. And I saw the business no back in 2020 nung pandemic, and I was a CFO back then, kaka-promote ko lang, and when the pandemic started, nung ko nga na-realize that I didn't have any plan B in place. So there were different options, and there were different opinions from people around me saying magstay ka muna or pag-isipan mo muna, or um maraming opinion ng tao, or suggestion, or advice, no, from different people that minsan hindi rin nakakatulong, no. But I noticed really something, that some directions made me feel pressured, right? There are also times, right, in our life na minsan tayo ay nagde-decide because we are pressured, right? So think about those times that you also made your own decisions na na-pressure ka rin before you come up with your own decision. Pero may mga decision ka naman sa buhay that you also felt calmer, parang napakagaan lang, for you, chicken lang yan, you can already decide about it. Even if some of those decisions that you've made are also unfamiliar for you, right? So, ano bang ibig sabihin ng peace that I'm talking about, no, tonight? When I say peace, I don't mean everything suddenly becomes very easy. And peace simply means that there is enough calm inside of you to think clearly, right? And kapag peace, diba, think about those times na you've made a decision and hindi ka nagmamadali. You've made a decision at yung decision na yun is really something that is not forced, right? and you can move, step by step with clarity. Meaning, even though you're not sure, but something inside of you tells you that this is the right thing to do, right? I think that's actually what you feel when you are at peace with the decisions that you've made, not only for yourself, but sometimes yung mga decisions that we make because it will affect our family or yung mga loved ones natin or something that really is dear to us, right? So, ano naman ang kaibahan kapag pressure? So, pressure can also feel like this. For example, nagmamadali ka, right? You feel like you might miss out something, so gusto mong madaliin yung decision mo. You feel like you need to decide immediately, right? So, of course, yung peace really feels so different because when you have peace inside of you, right, you still think very carefully. When you feel peaceful, hindi ka napupush, right? Hindi ka, kumbaga, dinaan sa intimidation or takot or whatever. And when you are at peace, you can actually take the next step responsibly, right? So maybe the question when making decisions is not always what is the biggest opportunity, but maybe the better question is where can I move forward with clarity instead of pressure, right? So, for example, if you are also faced with some major decisions in your life, it can be at work, it can be related to your finances, it can be related to your family or relationships. And if you are making decisions in your life right now, right, something that's very important in your life right now, you can try like a few simple things, right? So, number one, give yourself some time before deciding, right? Because not every decision that we need to make needs to be rushed. And especially yung mga decisions in our life are the major ones, right? You also need to assess the pros and cons of making that decision, right? But for me, siguro what I can add to this is, think of, use that time to really think things through and consider it for the future, right? Parang look into the future, but don't forget the current where you are right now, right? So if you feel like a certain decision will really help you improve your future, it will really improve your relationships or finances, right? Or your career or your business, whatever. You always think about the future. And also you think about if it's something that is aligned with God's way, right? Number two, you start to notice if you feel pressure or clarity when you make a decision. Mararamdaman mo na lang yung deep inside you that if there is a pressure, it really pushes you quickly, right? So think about those times when people try to pressure you to make a decision. Yung minsan parang hindi mo alam kung tama ba yung decision mo because maybe you allowed another person to really push you, right, to make that decision even though hindi mo talaga pa napag-isipan ng husto. Now, when it comes to clarity, actually it really helps you think clearly, right? So when you make a decision, 'di ba, you know the feeling of clarity. Wala kang regrets, wala kang pagsisisi, wala kang second thoughts, and meron mang makasagasaan doon sa decision mo, but deep inside, it's what would really, make you happy, or it's what really is the best for everyone, right? Now, number three is take small steps instead of the big leaps, right? So when it comes to making decisions with peace, hindi mo kailangan ng mapakalaking plano to really come up with, your decision. What really is important is you start thinking about ano ba yung very small step that you can do as early as today in order for you to make that decision, right? Especially if it's a major decision. So you can think about research muna, or maybe talk to different people muna, or maybe, get some information muna, di ba? Para instead of being vague or hindi pa unclear, ano yung mga areas that you also need some clarity? And then you start, doing something about it. So instead of making the huge decision, is you start really, pushing yourself one step further para mas nagkaroon ka ng clarity a little bit, right? Before you make that huge decision. And number four, talk to people that you trust, right? Of course, sometimes, di ba, yung may mga decision tayo sa buhay that we need to talk to people that we know will also give us good advices, right? Of course, yung mga wise conversations that we get from people that are close to us can really help us, see things clearly. Maybe these people already have an experience about that, right? Or meron na silang napagdaanan na ganun. So somehow they would be able to guide you through, right? If you have questions somewhere or sila yung expert doon sa area that you really want to have some clarity about, right? So I just wanted to invite you for tonight. No? So maybe today you can ask yourself, is this decision coming from pressure or is my decision coming from peace? Right? Because sometimes God's guidance is really not loud. And sometimes it's really simply the quiet clarity that allows you to take the next step. Like in my case, siguro ma-share ko lang din that this is something that is very recent with me. For the past how many weeks I've been working on my business, no? And I have been praying for God's guidance all this time. At first, I was really confused. Ano ba talaga yung gusto kong gawin with how I wanted to, move with my business because there's so many distractions happening, no. And instead of me being distracted with so many things, I always take the time to really meditate. I always take the time to also read um, God's teachings for the day. Sometimes I do it randomly. So, meron lang akong sinusundan na Our Daily Bread and then I just shuffle the pages kung saan ako bumagsak, yun yung binabasa ko na teaching for the day. And most of the time, this is actually what happens. No? Most of the time is actually what I am, expecting as an answer for whatever I am currently, thinking about or feeling for that day. And merong isang araw that I was so confused. I don't know what to do. I just wanted to move further. But, instead of pushing myself to really, pressure myself to really move, I allowed myself to, you know, enjoy the quiet moment. And sometimes, I don't know if you've also experienced that, na kapag mas tahimik yung isip mo, mas kalmado yung puso mo, mas kalmado yung how you go through your day. That's actually where the great ideas are coming in, right? And so it really happened today that I was able to, get a lot of ideas and I was so inspired. That's why I was able to, list them down. And I was really glad and I really thank God for giving me all of those ideas that I can also do in my business. And I feel light, no? I feel like it's the right way to do. So I don't know if maybe if you also experience the same way now when you are confused. Well, kapag instead when you're pressuring yourself and praying and praying and worrying, the more that you feel like you cannot solve whatever it is that you wanted to, pray for. But when you start to quiet yourself, quiet your mind, and just trying to um not think about or not having to worry whatever happens, right? Because sometimes we overthink, eh. So what happens when we overthink, we allow our minds to be bombarded with so many negative stuffs that hindi tayo makapag-isip ng maayos. But actually when you start with a peaceful day, right, the quiet ones, yung gusto mo tahimik lang. 'Di ba minsan magugulat ka, bigla na lang papasok yung idea na inaantay mo. Or maybe you're starting to think yung sagot pala sa problem mo is sa you can reach out with another person or you can that's your next step. Maybe you're just waiting kumbaga nagkakaroon ng kasagutan when you have that peace inside of you, right? So if there's also a point in your life, or maybe right now you are also asking for something that gusto mo ring masagot, maybe in your business, in your career, in your relationships, in your finances, in your life, in whatever aspect in your life, and you feel confused, I also invite you to also have that quiet moment, right? That's why it's very powerful na instead of waking up, pagising nyo bukas is instead of picking up your phone, is start by thanking God that you are alive, right? That you were given another chance to experience life, right? And, you know, um, bless other people by your presence. And then just, instead of scrolling on social media, why don't you also start by taking that silent moment, right? And you will notice na the mo appreciate, you will hear the birds chirping, you will hear the quiet moment, and you will appreciate that moment. And then sooner or later, all of the ideas that you have been waiting for will start to come in. All right. So that's it for tonight. I hope I was able to inspire you to, have that quiet moment, because sometimes we are, scrolling on social media, and what happens is nagkakaroon tayo ng information overload. And when we have that, mas lalo tayong hindi nakakapag-isip in coming up with decisions that really has a huge impact in our life, finances, career, or business. All right. So that's it for tonight. Thank you. Thank you so much. And I'll see you again tomorrow. Maraming salamat for those who are watching this live and for those who are catching this on a replay. So thank you, and bye for now.